Hello, everyone, and welcome to the main event, Mark's podcast, now on the Unhinged Sports Network. I am your first host, lifelong wrestling fan and cat dad, Troy, and with me, as always, is the WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia and the main event collector. He is the Kid Romeo to my Elix Skipper. He is Greg. What's up, Greg?
You are not cool enough to pull off either one of those guys.
Well, I went with Kid Romeo for you because isn't he Hispanic?
Yeah.
So there you go.
And so you're black?
Well, moving on.
There's anything wrong with that. It's just that's what you opened the door on it.
I did. I know. Immediately regret.
I like you, Skipper.
I do too.
That was a huge missed boat in TNA. I'm not gonna say WCW wasn't there. They weren't around long enough with him. So.
What are you talking about, man? He was Canadian.
Yeah.
As was another guy on this show who was not Canadian. So, yeah. I didn't get that with, like, at least in TNA, Team Canada made sense. Like, everybody on Team Canada was Canadian. So, what the hell with WCW, man? It was like,
because it's a well-known fact. You throw the maple leaf on somebody, they become Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah, they had Lance Storm. He's like, you know when you knight people, like, in England, it's like, well, now you're a knight. Like, did he just, like, honorary, like, Canadian knight them?
He was the Canadian. Is the Canadian.
Yeah. Well, something else, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, we covered, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, we covered a show with Elix Skipper on it, and now he's on this show. So we're getting a lot of prime time in, baby.
He built this podcast.
But today, man, I thought I was going to be a little smart ass and book this show because I was like, WCW greed, whatever. I was really shocked with the quality of the show. Like, without getting into my, deep opinions on anything, like, I'm just going to say I was shocked at the good quality of this show because I honestly expected it to be garbage. It was exactly 20 years ago today, not today, but this month, exactly 20 years ago. And did you watch this one live when it went down?
I did, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So when you tuned in, when you ordered the pay-per-view, were you thinking this is going to be the last WCW pay-per-view?
No, I didn't. But I feel like we all knew it was on his deathbed.
Yeah. I wasn't watching WCW at all during this time, so I had no idea. I had tuned out of WCW I think a year before this. I really hadn't paid attention. So I was oblivious to any of this stuff going on. I wasn't paying attention to that they were on their deathbed. But I kind of wish I would have watched more during this time because I feel like the sad part was WCW was starting to pick up some steam at this point as far as like quality. I mean, am I wrong?
No, but all the idiots were gone.
Yeah, that's true. Were they back to? I think they were back to Kevin Sullivan booking. Oh, we got to book heat, brother. But yeah, so anyway, we're going to get into the quality of the show and just all the matches and everything and kind of the sad demise of the company. And obviously we're going to talk about that in the news and notes, but there are actually other stories to cover. So I thought this was going to be a one-story show, but nope. There's quite a bit here to get into, but we'll dive into all of that on the other side of this break. Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. It's the very best of professional wrestling's past every Monday on
Retro Wrestling Review.
I'm your host, Troy, and together we'll hop on my time-traveling wrestling ring and watch along to the greatest matches from yesteryear in the Sport of Kings.
As complex, as controversial, and as brilliant, really, as he is.
On Triple R, we'll cover matches from across the world, including American territories, Canada, Mexico, and Japan.
Fast action, lots more than that.
You'll learn some things, find out about wrestlers and matches you never even knew about, and we'll have some laughs. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Retro Wrestling Pod. Retro Wrestling Review is available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube, served up fresh every Monday morning.
Unbelievable! The crowd absolutely
Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back for the news and notes, but before we get started here, I want to let everybody know that we are sponsored by Fubo TV and Fanatics. If you're a real sports fan, you're going to want to click on the Fanatics link down below. Greg is a shopper of theirs. He can attest to their quality. And I know you were telling me a couple of weeks ago it's not just jerseys and stuff. I mean, like, I haven't really done a deep dive into their stuff. What can you really tell us about, like, what they offer?
Shirts, hats, workout equipment, masks, the usual stuff.
Ah, nice. Yeah. And, I mean, right now is big sports time. We got NBA, MLB coming up, hockey. I mean, a lot of stuff going on. So, and the NFL stuff is probably on sale at this point. So it's a good time to dive in there and get all your stuff. I think soccer is still going on, NASCAR. So go check all that out. Well, then on Fubo TV, they're not just sports, although they do have a lot of sports, a lot of on-demand sports. They do offer over 100 channels, depending on what region you're in. In my region, they offer over 200 channels. So, and it's a very reasonable price. I mean, they can at least match whatever, because right now I run with Spectrum, and they match Spectrum. I'm actually thinking about switching here if, the prices end up going up for Spectrum. So check them out. They got a lot of good stuff, and everything, like I said, it's on demand, and you get cloud DVR. Getting into the actual news here, this first one is kind of wrestling related, but I threw it on there because I remember this story because it was such a huge thing in the news at this time. You'll have to tell me because you're a little bit older than me, so you might have been more plugged into the news at this time than I was. Lionel Tate was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Tate was a 12-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. He was 12 years old, and he ended up killing his 6-year-old sister, and he tried to blame it on a wrestling move that had gone wrong. But the girl's injuries did not match up with the story that he told, and it was reported that she had sustained a prolonged beating that left her with multiple internal injuries that could not be explained by a kid just doing wrestling moves. Tate was only 12 at the time of the murders, and he had just turned 14 recently, and there's been a lot of national controversy over the handing down of a life sentence with no parole to someone so young. I guess from what because I learned most of this secondhand, through like, retrospective stories or my parents kind of, talking about it. I just remember this kid was like so remorseless. And I think when they gave him the life sentence, even he was kind of like, whatever. So I think that's,
I'll be out.
Yeah, I think that was the whole thing with that, why they were like, life sentence, no parole, get the F out. But the case made headlines early on when Tate's lawyers tried to get The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Sting to testify. And then the PTC used the Tate case as ammunition in their war with the WWF. In response, the WWF later sued the PTC and Tate's lawyer. The lawsuit is still pending at the time of this event. Oh, man.
Another example of it could only be WB, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, the PTC, it seemed like they only came after the WWE. I mean, other people came after the WCW, I can't remember what that, TSN or whatever the hell up in Canada went after them and whatever. But most of the time it was WWF. I don't get it. And I know they were, yeah, and I know at this time they were well far ahead in the ratings, and they were the big dogs in every sense of the word. It just like, yeah, like you and I always joke about that. It seemed like WCW skated by with a lot of stuff, steroids included. But something that is equally, well, it's not equally messed up, but it's, yeah. Anyway, an Insane Clown Posse
That can't be good. That's a horrible lead-in.
An Insane Clown Posse show was recently canceled after a bomb threat led to a mini riot in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Some religious group was protesting the show, and after the bomb threat led to the show being canceled, ICP fans began to riot and caused a bunch of damage. It took more than 50 police officers and a bunch of tear gas to clear the area. Vampiro was also at the show.
First of all, I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at there was an ICP show in Kentucky.
That's what I'm thinking. Like
what the hell?
I mean, I live in the Dayton area in Ohio, and they can draw a pretty good crowd in Dayton and Cincinnati, but
yeah,
Dayton. First of all, I have no idea where Shepherdsville, Kentucky is. I assume it's like mid-Kentucky? I don't know. But, yeah, it kind of shocks me that in Kentucky...
Does Kentucky connect to Michigan?
No.
I can't do geography in my head this early.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
I'm just like, that might make some sense, but no.
No,
It'd be Indy, right?
Yeah, Kentucky connect. If it depends on what part of Kentucky. If you go north, it either connects to Ohio or Indiana.
Because when I think of ICP, man, I think of Kentucky.
I know, and a riot, like good grief. So they canceled a show because of a bomb threat, and the people get mad that they were, the authorities were worried about their safety. Like, I get being upset that the show was canceled.
Screw it, I want to die if it means seeing ICP.
Yeah, right. Like, and I'm not getting off on a political thing here, but like when the lockdowns were still happening and Fozzie did that show at Sturgis, people commented, they were like, so people are literally saying I would die to see Fozzie right now. And Smash Mouth.
COVID, dude.
Yeah, and Smash Mouth was at the show. So like somebody literally said, man, I would put myself in mortal danger to see Smash Mouth perform live in 2020. Ah, man. There you go. But speaking of protests, a national restaurant chain, which Uncle Dave Meltzer was specifically asked not to name, but he says that they're a well-known chain with hundreds of locations in the U.S., is no longer airing Raw at their locations. Apparently, they always aired Raw every Monday night, but on the week that with the Trish Stratus and Vince McMahon segment where Trish had to bark like a dog and all that, the patrons at the restaurant complained, and they said it was basically the same as showing pornography. So the chain has made the decision to no longer show Raw on the TVs in any of its locations nationwide. I mean, I will say if you're going to, I don't know what the restaurant was. All right, I'm going to say
hundreds. So it's not like a huge one because he said hundreds, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, thousands would be like
I was
fast food chain. So
I went straight to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Were they even a thing back then?
I believe so. But I mean, if that is it, and you're going to because some people take their families there, I can get, somebody sees that and they're like, what the hell is on the TV right now? And that segment was effed up by all standards.
Hey, man, come on. You can save little Jimmy some sex education classes, dude.
Yeah. Somebody asked, I'd seen somebody asked somebody that grew up in the Vegas area. They were like, so how does your dad have the birds and the bees talk with you when you're driving down the road and you just see boobs on a billboard? And he's like, well, that made it a lot easier.
That's where milk comes from.
My God. B-Dubs, by the way, was founded in 1982. So, in Columbus, Ohio. So we are to blame for B-Dubs. You're welcome.
Didn't we eat at one in Columbus?
Not Columbus. We did.
Oh,
New York. No,
we had one.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay.
Right before the fast lane.
Yeah. And then we also had one in Chicago. You and I believe too, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think so. Jerry Lawler wrote a long blog post on his website to talk about his leaving WWF. He said that if you want to know how many real friends you have at work, lose your job and see who reaches out. He said that since walking out, he's only heard from a few people, including Jim Ross, Terry Reynolds, Michael Cole, Steve Lombardi, a.k.a. Brooklyn Brawler.
Brooklyn effing Brawler.
Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, whatever. Harvey Whippleman, and to Lawler's admitted surprise, Shawn Michaels.
He wasn't even back yet.
Yeah, I guess he heard about it through the grapevine. But for people that don't remember, I guess they let WWF, that is, they let the cat go. What was her name? Stacey Carter, whatever. They let her go. King got pissed off, so he also quit, and it was a big thing. And yeah, I don't know. Who did they replace him with on the commentary table? I forget.
Paul Heyman.
Was it? Okay. I knew Paul was...
I love King, but that was a huge upgrade if you ask me. Sorry. But
yeah, King was starting to go a little downhill at this point. And yeah, Paul Heyman is... Dude, that team of him and JR is so underrated.
I know.
Think about back in WCW when he was Paulie Dangerously. That was a great team.
I was just thinking about that yesterday. I'm like, man, I forgot just how great that was, and no one ever talks about it.
You ever think in the early 90s, they're sitting there calling these shows where, like, they can barely draw a crowd, and Jim Hurd's running the show, or Bill Watts, or whatever the hell. And, you know, they're
So
like...
it's racist? Okay, got it.
Good grief. They're like, we're going to be calling WrestleMania together someday. Like, no one would have ever thought that.
Yeah.
But here's some somewhat outside of wrestling news, but it's related. There's good news for XFL ratings. The first XFL that went under, not the second XFL that went under. The Saturday night game.
That second one's not fair because that was not their fault.
No, it was not. It just, yeah.
I didn't watch it, so I have no reason to defend it. I'm just saying it was not their fault this time.
I heard the ratings weren't amazing, but I heard that, you know, they actually played good football this time. Like, I heard some really good things about some of their games. Then again, they said there were a lot of games that were just like, you know, one-sided ass whoopings, and it was like not even fun to watch. But on the flip side, they said when the good teams did face off, it was always a damn good game. But I don't know, maybe The Rock and his
go figure. I mean, that's how football should be. I can't believe it. I am so shocked.
Yeah. And you know, maybe The Rock and his benefactors can breathe some more life into it, you know, when all this lockdown stuff is done. But anyway, the Saturday night game on NBC actually increased slightly over the previous week's numbers. It was still one of the 5th or 6th lowest rated shows ever in the history of network primetime television, but still better than last week.
So I'm going to whip out your old cleanest pigsty comment.
Basically. They did every trick in the freaking book with this thing.
Yeah,
man. I just love that.
If anybody has not watched the 30 for 30 on ESPN, oh, it's so great.
Dick Ebersol was involved with that, right?
He's on it, yeah.
Right,
him and Vince McMahon are like hosting it.
Yeah. So, hey, Dick was everywhere, man.
It's on ESPN Plus, so everyone check it out.
Yeah, there was so much. Bruce Pritchard did something to wrestle with on the XFL, and he kind of talks about all the crazy behind the scenes stuff that went on there that he had to deal with, because he said, I was told, and other people on the WWE side that dealt with wrestling were told, hey, you're wrestling, you're not going to be doing football. He said, next thing I know, we're being yanked in and forced to do football. And he said, I couldn't give a crap less about football. So I guess JR was tickled because he always wanted to call football, but...
Boomer Sooner. The home of Johnny Manziel. You should like them.
Oh, hell no. All right, getting into the WCW side of everything here, sort of. Scott Hall headlined New Japan Pro Wrestling's 30th anniversary show in a tag match. Hall looked to be in good shape for a 42-year-old guy, a little pudgier than usual, but in far better shape than most 42-year-olds.
Okay.
And then AJ Styles says, hold my beer.
Right.
I'll never, ever, for the rest of my life, forget when I was watching... I can't remember what TNA. Do you remember what TNA pay-per-view it was?
Clearly, you won't forget.
Well, no, I remember the moment. I don't remember the pay-per-view. It was Team 3D versus Scott Hall and Sean Waltman. Do you remember?
Might have been Genesis.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds right. But they were brawling around, and like Scott Hall, he said in like a build-up promo, he was like, "You'll know me. I'll be the one dressed like Elvis." So I was like, oh, so he's going to wear his stupid Elvis suit. But no, he showed up like in the trunks and all that, and he was way out of shape. And people in the chat that I was chatting with, somebody was like, well, good to see Scott Hall got in great shape for this one.
Yeah, that's so messed up.
I'm like, well, I mean, we all kind of saw it coming. Come on. But all right, getting into the big stories here, it's multi-pronged. So, well, this first one is dealing with lawsuits. Time Warner is attempting to settle WCW's outstanding lawsuits as quickly as possible before the sale. Nasty Boys member Jerry Saggs had a lawsuit against the company, stemming from a chair shot he received from Scott Hall a couple of years ago that he says ended his career. If you don't remember the incident, Saggs went into the match already concussed and warned Hall not to hit him in the head during the chair spot. Hall did it anyway. Saggs then attacked him during the match and ended up busting Hall's face so bad that he needed oral surgery to fix the damage.
I laugh at like, wow, okay. Jerry Saggs has a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Don't treat that man wrong.
I had heard about this though. It's like that is like, and I know Hall was, messed up on multiple things at this time, but like that's messed up. Somebody's like, hey, I'm coming off a concussion. Don't hit me in the head with a chair. So he does it anyway. And then Sags just beats the holy hell out of him to the point where he needs oral surgery. Yikes. But here we go. This one is a little more. All right. Anyway, diving into it.
You just the lead-ins, man.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
This one, it's going to be hard to say. So, and you'll see why. Speaking of lawsuits, there's some heat on Ric Flair because he's not making things easier for WCW with Sonny Ono's racial discrimination lawsuit. A few weeks ago at a house show, during a match with the Cat, Flair called him Sambo. A term, I had to look this up. That is a term for a person of mixed African and Amerindian ancestry. The name then came to be applied to black persons of various degrees of European admixture. So it's a racial slur, in other words.
Okay, that's new to me because I thought there was literally like a suplex named Sambo Suplex.
There is. So I wonder if that is now a racist name for the suplex. I don't know. Yeah, because I was like,
all right,
Sambo.
won't be saying that one anymore then.
Yeah, I was like, Sambo. I was like, how is that racist?
That sounds like a horrible generic version of Rambo or something. Like someone made it and like changed the letter. Like, oh, I can sell it because they changed the letter.
Yeah, right. Like the one you get in the dollar store.
Yeah.
But this one, you just leave it to old people, man. They'll dig out racist terms you've never heard of in your life. But here's another one for you. Then, this week on television, while jawing with fans at ringside, Flair threatened, quote, I'll Jap slap you.
Okay, he loves using that word, doesn't he?
He does. I'm like, dude, you can't say that. And I tell you, yeah, you're like, Flair, you can't say that. I'm God. Like, you're not God. You're going to get sued for racial discrimination. Stop it. God up there, God down here, God. My word, that I didn't know Ric Flair was like that, but whatever.
Crazy, but
yeah. All right, here's one. The future of WCW is looking very questionable all of a sudden. As a press time for this event, the company only has 3 shows remaining on the schedule: the Greed pay-per-view on March 18th, Nitro on March 19th, and the Spring Break Nitro a week later in Panama City on March 26th. Well, we know why that was the last one on the booking sheet. It's eerily similar to ECW's situation just a couple of months ago. There's no show scheduled for April, and nobody seems to know what will air in the Monday/Wednesday time slots for Nitro and Thunder during that month.
See, I remember that ECW thing because when all that was going on, Paul Heyman was literally at the table on Raw. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, it's clear as day what's going to happen, guys.
Yeah, it's like...
the guy who runs the show is in the other company now.
Wearing an XFL hat.
Yeah. No, he wore an ECW hat for quite a while, actually, on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here's the one that stuck out to me. I didn't know that they moved Thunder to Wednesday.
They moved it all over. At one point, it started on Thursday, then they moved it to Wednesday. It was on Tuesday for a minute, back to Wednesday, and then it ended on Thursday, I think.
Wow. Good grief. Well, there were plans for a pay-per-view in May in Las Vegas, though no arena is booked yet. And Eric Bischoff has reportedly been planning that as the launch date for the new WCW. Advertising for that pay-per-view is already out, and as of yet, it hasn't been canceled. But Bischoff has been waiting for months for the sale to go through, and it hasn't yet, which has forced them to postpone major storyline plans. Yeah, that was the Big Bang. Obviously didn't happen. They were going to take some time off before the Big Bang, I think.
Okay, am I alone in thinking that wouldn't have really helped?
I guess the time off, he was like, well, we need to get my regime in place and figure out kind of more of the, it's more or less the office stuff. I mean, from a business standpoint, it helps you reorganize. So I can see.
You can't reorganize like shattered pieces of glass. I mean, things broke, dude.
Well, yeah, I think he was going to go in there, clean house, and then put his own people in place, and they kind of have to get used to it. It's like, okay, what the hell am I doing?
WCW was a complete mess. It was done. It was never going to come back.
I would like to think if Bischoff got his hands on it, it might have stuck around for a little while longer. I mean, it might have ended up being more of like what TNA ended up being. you know?
Yeah, but back then television contracts weren't that easy, so it probably wouldn't have lasted on TV. And there was no streaming stuff back then.
Well, you and I talked. Well, yeah,
it's not coming back.
Bischoff had said if streaming stuff was around back then, WCW would still be alive.
I have no doubt.
So, but I mean, I had heard rumors that they were looking at possibly getting a show on FX. So
FX is always the rumor whenever a company needs a home. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
WWE, when they left USA the first time, when they were leaving Spike, when TNA was getting a new deal, AEW was talked about with FX. That's like a thing.
Wow.
So it's like, I don't know, take that for what it's worth, but every company has said, maybe FX.
Well, I guess he said what actually killed it all, and we'll talk about this more next week, but was when they canceled, like Time Warner came in and just canceled all the shows. It was like, no more wrestling on the networks, and that's when Bischoff's benefactors are pulled out. It was like, we're done. All we wanted was the TV. But yeah,
they were still pulling in higher ratings back then than AEW is now. That's what's baffling to me about why AEW's on TNT. I don't get it. Like, what changed?
How the way people look at ratings. I mean, that's the simplest answer. People don't look at ratings the same way anymore. Because I've always said, I mean, like the shows that you and I grew up on and loved that stuck around for like ever and even before our time, most of those shows would not last as long as they did in today's TV. Like, it's just, things have changed so much. And like, I've seen shows now that get good ratings on TV that have been canceled because their streaming numbers aren't very good. And I'm like, who cares about streaming numbers when you're doing good television ratings? But apparently that matters. I don't know.
What's happening with The Walking Dead? I mean, yeah, the ratings are going to suck this season because the first 6 episodes are already on AMC streaming service. So.
Yeah, that. I said it's like, you know what? I'll wait. I think it's more fun that way anyway, but that's just me. Either way, there have been snags in the negotiations between WCW and Fusient in recent weeks. Fusient Media is the what Eric Bischoff is working with to try to buy WCW. Fusient originally agreed to purchase the company for around $70 million, but then lowered their offer to $50 million when WCW's financials for January came in, which were even worse than last quarter. WCW is losing an estimated $5 to $7 million each month. If the deal does go through, Bischoff still plans to shut down the company for several weeks. They hope it goes through soon so that they can shut down as soon as the upcoming Greed pay-per-view, but as of now, they still plan to have a Nitro on April 2nd. So yeah, they're still being what's the word, optimistic, which makes this kind of like more sad than before, because you think it's like they're actually like being positive about all this. Kind of like the ECW thing, when we were talking about that a few months ago, where it's like they were trying to be positive, and Paul Heyman was like, "Oh, we can turn this around." And it's like, no, you can't.
Well, you got to convince them otherwise. He knew he was on his way out.
Yeah. With Paul, I mean, our point was, you were saying it's like, well, ECW is kind of his baby, and it's like, I feel like Eric Bischoff had like a love-hate relationship with WCW, because on one hand he was like, I built it to where it is today, like, I made it profitable and good and like an actual viable thing, but at the same time he just hated the company he worked for. So I mean, because if you listen to his podcast at all, he kind of conveys that, where he's like, by was it August or September of '99? He said he'd mentally checked out. He was like, I don't even care. I'm done.
That sounds like me with my last job.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it wasn't my cafe, but man, I did a lot for that thing. And like, upper management didn't give a damn, so it was like, F you, I left. That's exactly how I felt, seriously.
Yep, no company loyalty, man. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like companies to their employees. There's no loyalty. There's just none.
No.
So, and with this one, Bischoff did say, he's like, I handled it poorly, but he said at the same time, I'm running a hugely successful company that had been whooping the WWF's ass like more than not, and making money hand over fist and bringing in all these stars and everything. So, and then they call me into this boardroom to sit around with all these people in suits who are going to dictate to me how I need to start running my company differently. And he said he called him out. He asked one guy, he was like, tell me, what night of the week Nitro even airs on? And the guy just sat there like dumbfounded. He's like, and he couldn't answer. He was like, so you don't even know what night of the week Nitro is on? You're going to tell me how to run it? And he said, well, he said in retrospect that was a dumb move because he's like, I mean, you never, publicly embarrass the higher ups. But at the same time, he's like, I was making a point. Unfortunately, the point was, look, we know you did a lot for us. You actually made us money. That's great, but you're fired. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, man. When we come back on the other side of this, we're going to get into the actual event at hand. That's Greed 2001, the one and only Greed. We'll be right back after this.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. It's the very best of professional wrestling's past every Monday on
Retro Wrestling Review.
I'm your host, Troy, and together we'll hop on my time-traveling wrestling ring and watch along to the greatest matches from yesteryear in the Sport of Kings.
As complex, as controversial, and as brilliant, really, as he is.
On Triple R, we'll cover matches from across the world, including American territories, Canada, Mexico, and Japan.
Fast action, lots more than that.
You'll learn some things, find out about wrestlers and matches you never even knew about, and we'll have some laughs. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Retro Wrestling Pod. Retro Wrestling Review is available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube, served up fresh every Monday morning.
Unbelievable! The crowd absolutely stunned!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back for a break, but before we dive into the event at hand, make sure if you are not listening to us on the Unhinged Sports Network, we play every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We go live, and if you miss us, if you're listening to us now and you didn't catch the beginning of the show, you want to hear the whole thing, we air again tomorrow night at 6 p.m., and we've got various replays. Find out all over social media. Check the schedule. It's unhingedsn.airtime.pro. You ready to talk about greed?
Yeah.
One of the 7 deadly sins. I like how it was sin, Super Brawl, revenge. Now we get greed. I wonder what the other ones were going to be.
Theft, lust.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they going to have a lust pay-per-view? A gluttony pay-per-view? It was good in theory. I think they used the 3 good ones: revenge, sin, and greed. But past that, then it kind of started going downhill. But this
Welcome to Lust. Special host will be Missy Hyatt.
Yeah, right. Oh, good grief. Hey, Missy, how was your 50th plastic surgery? I'm sorry. Anyway.
Leave me out of that.
The date was March 18th, 2001. I always forget. Is that your birthday or around your birthday?
It's 3 days before.
3 days before. Okay. I have to keep that in mind because there's something I want to send your way for your birthday, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, this is, now that I'm thinking about it, March 18th. This is airing March 17th, so we are actually, or I'm sorry, this is airing March 10th. We are airing this 8 days before the exact anniversary of this, 20 years. Crazy to think about. And in 8 days, by the way, sign up for Peacock, because WWE Network's going live on Peacock. So
unless you have Comcast, you already have it.
Eat me. But yeah, so it's weird to think about WCW's been dead for 20 years at this point. Anyway. The tagline for this was, I don't get this. The tagline was, it's all or nothing, baby. Hey.
That's a foreshadowing. Wake up.
It's more nothing. But yeah.
Man.
The venue is the Jacksonville Memorial Coliseum in Jacksonville, Florida. Hey, another wrestling company emanates from Jacksonville now, and is also on TNT.
Hey, man, the Jaguars still sucked.
Yeah. It's been 20 years, Jag still sucks. Some things never change. The attendance for this, man, It was a staggering 5,030.
Out of how many possible?
So the capacity was about 10,000 plus some change there. So
okay, that's actually not so bad. Before Carpeon's dying.
Yeah, so I mean it's 50% capacity ish. So the pay-per-view buy rate though was 50,000 buys for about a .10.
We're past the statute of limitations now, right?
What? For what?
I was gonna say I didn't really buy this. I watched it at my friend's house on a scrambler.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it wasn't mine though. So.
Yeah, right. You didn't. Hey, it wasn't me. I was just there. All right. What's a scrambler, Greg? We didn't.
Oh.
Who the hell knows what a scrambler is? This is 22. It's been 20 years. I can't believe it's been so long since I've heard the term scrambler. That's hilarious. But anyway, the opening package is of DDP talking about the main event, and he lets us know that Scott Steiner is going to get banged.
Yeah.
I mean, no judgment.
Reasons.
Yeah. No judgment, DDP, but, whatever. I mean, it is pay-per-views, so you get away with more.
Well, sure, ECW.
Our opening match here, man, it is Kwee taking on Jason Jett, the former Easy Money.
I wanted to say something before we even start this match because I have that message from you from the other day.
Yeah.
You're watching this and you're like, oh man, these two, I see them. I'm like, take my money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've already watched it. I'm like, wow, he does not know what's coming, and I just laughed so hard at that.
Yeah.
Like, you're in for a shock, dude. This match is actually really effing good.
Yeah, this match went for about 12 minutes, 17 seconds. By the way, here's an interesting fact for you. Jet now becomes the only person to have worked both ECW and WCW's final pay-per-views.
Oh, so he's the reason.
Yeah, somebody was like, man, wouldn't that be a cool gimmick for him? Like if a company knows it's going out of business, it's like, we're gonna put on one more show called Jason Jet. That would be awesome. But and here's where I put in my notes. I said at first I sarcastically said Kwee versus Easy Money. Shut up and take my money. But these two tore the damn house down. Jason Jett wins with the crash landing. Uncle Dave gave this 3 3/4 stars. I gave it even 3 stars. It was amazing. What say you?
I gave it 3. I was on the fence for 4, but it's like,
yeah,
something held me back from 4. I don't know what it was, but man, it was so friggin' good.
Maybe it went a tad longer.
I thought Kwee is so criminally underrated.
Yeah, so
I think people looked right at the whole presentation of the guy and like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Dude, he was so damn good.
I mean, the hair, the neon pink pants, the fact that his name was Kwee.
It's the Kwee.
Yeah, and then he went on to be Alan Funk, and it's just like, yeah, the whole thing was just so stupid, and you couldn't help but laugh. But these two, who you're laughing at, because Jason Jett had the dumbest tights. That's what gave it away, by the way, because at first I was thinking Chris Hamrick, and I'm like, no, that's not right. And I was like, and I was texting you about it. I'm like, oh, it's Easy Money, and you're like, yeah, the tights gave it away, because nobody wears tights like that. But these two, you're just laughing at it, and it's like they tear the damn house down. I was like, cool. That is a way to introduce you to a pay-per-view.
I remember I was watching the last ECW pay-per-view, and I didn't realize it till now, but man, Chris Hamrick, his partner, his nickname was Confederate Currency, and he wore a huge Confederate flag on his back. Like, wow. If they ended that off the network, I mean, it'd be stupid, but I would totally understand why.
Yeah, well,
stupid in the sense that I hate when they do that crap, but wow, it was like blatant.
Well, if you did that, you'd have to go back and edit all the Freebird stuff too. So it just like that's a lot. Yeah, that was a weird group. And Julio De Niro was the third one in that group. Who was they had a female, right?
Yeah, Elektra.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. The one who was not Carmen. Because that's clearly what they were going for. We now get a recap of the Cruiserweight Tag Team Tournament, and that leads us into Kid Romeo and Elix Skipper taking on the Filthy Animals of Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio Jr. It is the finals for the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Title Tournament. It went just shy of 14 minutes. Mysterio comes out wearing a cross between his mask and Mankind's mask. So I was like, what the hell? But in the end, Kid Romeo catches Mysterio in a springboard moonsault attempt and drops him with the last kiss for the win. Even though this was mostly a spot fest, this match blew me away. Kidman and Mysterio had been told for weeks, apparently, that they were winning this tournament, but then it got to the day of the show, and they were told, never mind, you're losing. And then didn't they end up winning the titles like the next night on Nitro or something like that? No,
they won at the last ever Nitro.
Oh, okay.
I never defended them because Ray didn't come right over. Kidman did, but yeah.
And I like how he goes to WWE and they're like, look, quit wearing jean shorts and a wife beater. You got to look like an actual wrestler here.
Well, he wore those for a while.
When did he switch to the biker shorts?
I think at the same time he cut his hair.
Yeah. Anyway, Uncle Dave and I both gave this 4 stars. What say you?
It was a little more tight with it. I gave it 3.
Yeah, it was a spot fest, no doubt, but man, Kid Romeo was actually really good. And Elix Skipper was awesome. Just, wow.
Again, another guy that was just like criminally underrated, just wasted.
And he could dance, man.
Sure.
But he
was no Boogie Night, but you know.
Wow. He was kind of like his look almost reminded me of like Tony Nese, where it's like he's really short, so he qualifies as a cruiserweight. But man, he's like built and ripped, and he's got like 8-pack abs. Like it's nuts. Basically, he's got 2 extra.
He's not like Otis, who's carrying a 40-ounce.
He's got a 6-pack under that keg.
He's got multiple 6-packs.
But we go, speaking of ripped and shredded and buff, backstage, Buff Bagwell guides his own cameraman into the locker room of Ric Flair, Jeff Jarrett, and Road Warrior Animal. Animal debuted or returned, or whatever the hell, at Sin. That was where Sid Vicious snapped his leg, and that kind of ruined the whole Animal coming back thing. Yeah, right. Put a little damper on the night, I'd say. But they all stand around and talk crap on their opponents for the night. Apparently, Animal just got taken out from behind by a mystery attacker, and Medeja was taken out as well. Who was the mystery attacker? Did they ever reveal before the company shut down?
Did they?
I don't know. Maybe that's one of them things that just went unsolved.
That's weird, because WCW's never done that.
Yeah, kind of like, who the hell was driving that white Hummer? People, I don't know. But we get highlights of Stacy Keibler, now just named Stacy, introducing the world to, quote...
so Vince did do it first.
Right. Well, she's introducing the world to her baby, which turned out to be Sean Stasiak. Bam Bam Bigelow then attacked him because apparently he doesn't like that he's arrogant, I guess. I don't know.
Just making fun of Bigelow and calling him ugly and filthy and all that.
No. Yeah, because if there's one guy you want to pick on, Bam Bam Bigelow is it.
Hey, man, that was beats, man. He'll kill you.
Yeah, more on that here in a bit. But
really?
Yeah. Well, I just had a thought about that. But Stacy, this came after the whole she's pregnant, then she wasn't pregnant, and who was the father? Oh, there was never a baby. And now she does have a baby, and her baby, quote unquote, is Sean Stasiak.
Yeah.
Woohoo. But all right. Before the match here, Stacy comes out to be the hype woman for Stasiak, who comes out and insults the crowd and talks about how beautiful he is before throwing pictures of himself into the crowd. Yeah. Here's where I was going to say the whole, it makes more sense now that they called him, because he was just void of personality meat suit. He was just kind of there. There was nothing to this guy. I mean, did you feel that same way?
Yeah, kind of.
He was so, he looked good.
It's worse when he comes back to WWE, too.
Oh, my gosh, I know. Well, I guess Dr. Tom Pritchard, who was training WWE guys, they sent, some of the WCW rookies, like Stasiak and whatever, down to train with him before actually being full-time on the roster. And Kurt Angle, who had never professionally wrestled before, Pritchard was like, man, he's just a natural, taken to it like he's been doing it for years. Stasiak, who at this point had been doing it for, over a year, I think? You remember when he debuted? I don't remember. But
in
either way.
WCW?
Yeah.
Yeah, he debuted right when Russo took over, I believe.
Okay, so he'd been
because
doing
his debut was a play on Mr. Perfect. He came out to that just Mr. Perfect's WWF theme, but like remixed or looped.
Yeah, he was Perfect Sean. Yeah.
Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, money, man. But so he'd been doing it for about a year and a half, at this point, and his father was a wrestling legend, Stan Stasiak, and they said he's like a first-day rookie. They're like, he can't even bump properly. So, I don't know. And I guess
but he looks pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is his, third frickin' nickname in this company, by the way, and like I said, it's been a year and a half. He is now Sean the Star Stasiak.
Sean the Star.
They keep giving these young guys nicknames that were wishful thinking. And you and I both said we like Chuck Palumbo, but they called him the main event and then the event. And it's like, what? No.
And then put them together and you got the perfect event.
Yeah. No.
I'm not even joking.
I know. And then Sean was the Star and Perfect Sean and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Sean with Stacy is taking on Bam Bam Bigelow. This went just shy of 6 minutes, mercifully. Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson are having fun during the show, and they clearly don't give a crap anymore. If you listen to their commentary, Tony seems like he's just given all the Fs he can give. He's harvested them all out of his garden, and it is now empty, and he has no more Fs to give. So he's just having fun. The commentary is actually pretty good. Him and Scott Hudson have a good thing going on. I said this match could have and should have been on free TV. Not that we have much more of that. But Stacy distracts the referee while she tosses hairspray to Sean Stasiak, who sprays it in Bigelow's eyes, and then he hits the Hangman's Neckbreaker on Bigelow for the win. Uncle Dave gave this a half a star. I give it a star and a half. What say you?
A whole star.
Whole thing sucked? Yeah, it's just yikes, man. But a security camera. Oh, did you? By the way, Sean Stasiak still does obviously not right now, but he still does independent promotion wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
He'll just pop up in the indies every now and then. It's like, who the hell is booking Sean Stasiak?
Well, it's not his dad.
Yeah. Security camera footage shows from earlier in the day when Ernest the Cat Miller tells Miss Jones she needs to stay in the back while he takes care of Canyon. This was a thing on the show, by the way. Had this been going on for a while where there's not a single person doing interviews on the show?
Yep.
It's all security camera footage or somebody talking to a camera. Not to a person, to a camera.
Yeah. I think Scott Hudson was out of work or something. Huh?
It's did you guys want to save money on interviewers by doing that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think some of this stuff was the locker room stuff where they're talking to a guy off camera or something. Yeah, it was different. It was original. But the security camera stuff, it's kind of, it's pretty dumb. More on that later. But we're now treated to, and I say treated, dripping with sarcasm here. We're treated to footage of the new Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions going behind each other and strapping each other up.
Yeah, this was a little weird, but...
Hey, no judgment, all right? If you want to go behind a guy and strap him up, whatever.
You could have picked some better words for that.
Nope, no, I couldn't. That's what they did. But all right, before the next match, Lance Storm and the Canadian Killer Mike Awesome come out, and you and I talked about this. It's that nickname makes it sound like he just kills Canadians.
Yep.
But then I started thinking about it. It's well, I didn't even think about that because it's then you think Chris Benoit only cripples Canadians because he was the Canadian crippler for the longest time.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
But yeah, this you talk about a guy who they couldn't figure out what the hell to do with him. They were like, yes, we got Mike Awesome. By the way, you're gonna be 5,000 things within a year and a half. Not
only that, it's they worked so hard to get him. There's a huge controversy.
I know. He comes in
for what?
When he first came in, I think he goes from the career killer to that 70s guy, back to the career killer. Now he's the Canadian killer. What?
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, at least we got to see him with that sweet-ass mullet, so that was something. You gotta look for silver linings.
He cut his hair off, though.
I know. That was the worst part of this whole thing. I don't care about the Canadian stuff. But anyway, Storm and Awesome come out to the ring. Both former ECW guys, by the way. And they tell everyone to stand up for the playing of the Canadian national anthem. It never plays. I felt like Storm switched back and forth between doing a wrestling promo and being legit, because I like how it never plays. And then he's like, come on, guys, I've been doing this for 8 months. You know the drill. But they're eventually interrupted by the music of Hugh Morris. Yes, Hugh Morris. I like how they make this seem like it's a huge thing, by the way. Like, commentary's like, oh my gosh, the Laughing Man, Hugh Morris is back. Like, cool?
Like, who wanted this back?
Yeah, it's like, yay, I guess. I mean, it's better than General Erection, but like, is it though?
But is it?
Yeah, it's like a slight step up. We can't even make dick jokes anymore. But I don't know. Either way, he comes to the ring, and then Konnan comes out to help him. He is his partner. We now get Team Canada, which is Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, taking on the locker room leaders, Hugh Morris and Konnan. It went about 11 and a half minutes. This was a thing they pushed during this match, by the way, that they kept going on about how everyone in the back they respect Hugh Morris and Konnan. They are the epitome of locker room leaders. And I'm like, who gives a crap? Like, why are you pushing this so hard? It sounds like you're trying to convince yourselves, not me. Because, when I think of the guy that all the people in WCW need to go to for their advice, it's Hugh effing Morris.
General effing Erection.
I could buy it more with Konnan. Because, maybe the luchadors would go to Konnan for, he's their...
Yeah, for their smoke.
Wow. They wanted to smoke. But he was legit, I guess, basically the head of the luchadors in WCW. I guess he did most of their negotiating for them with Bischoff and the like. But, Hugh Morris? All right. But anyway, to the match here. When Hugh Morris goes up top, Lance Storm distracts him. This allows Awesome to hit a running Awesome Bomb for the win. Uncle Dave gave this a half a star. I actually thought it was decent. I gave it 2 stars. What say you?
I gave it 1. I hated it.
I like Team Canada. I mean, maybe not together, but I like them individually.
I love Lance Storm. That's all I'll say.
I like Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. I don't hate. I mean, you can't tell by how we just buried him, but I didn't hate Hugh Morris. I didn't think he was terrible, and I like Konnan. So I don't know. I bumped it up a little bit for that. But
I feel like this is Conan's last match.
Probably, yeah.
He's on the last Nitro, and
hell of a way to go out.
Yeah, right.
Well, was he on the next night?
Maybe, Nitro? But I'm blanking.
Yeah, I don't know, but here we go with this one, man. To the back, we get more security camera footage.
Clearly, I know what's coming.
Dustin Rhodes is asking Dusty if he's getting ready for their match while Dusty's reading a newspaper. Dusty keeps going on about how he's going to make his ass really smelly for when someone kisses it tonight, and then he has somebody bring in a giant tray of burritos.
Not like a big plate of ribs, like a Texan would eat or something.
Well, no, you gotta build up the gas, Greg. So burritos. This is what the American Dream Dusty Rhodes is doing. Talking about how he's going to make his ass really stanky so that Ric Flair can kiss it. What are we doing?
Well, it's not just Ric Flair. It's also Jeff Jarrett. Hold on.
Now, yeah. Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett must kiss that posterior, that ample posterior of Dusty Rhodes. But now we go to Buff Bagwell, who sits down with Rick Steiner in his locker room, asking what Rick's going to do to Booker T tonight. He then asks, what's up with Scott, and what's got him all messed up in the head? That could take all the rest of the night, man, and into the morning.
He's a little gassed.
Right. But now Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire cut a generic wrestling promo from their locker room about how they'll do anything to win the WCW World Tag Team titles tonight. Or to retain them, excuse me. So, there's that. But up next, man, it's your favorite and mine. It is Chavo Guerrero Jr. defending the Cruiserweight title against Sugar Shane Helms in just under 11 minutes. Or, I'm sorry, just under 14 minutes. This is the first night that Shane is in. He's no longer wearing his 3-count attire. He's wearing like white boots and black trunks.
It's a Sugar Shane.
Yeah. He looked so super skinny, by the way. I was like, damn, dude, do you eat? And he comes out with the Sugar Babies, which are dancers. Yeah. And he comes out dancing like
it's just funny how
at a concert.
It's just funny how completely different he'll be in like a week or two.
Yeah. Well, he does. I think he still does this gimmick on the Final Nitro, doesn't he? Like this, like the last time. And then he comes in WWE as just like Shane Helms, like, and then next thing you know, he's the Hurricane. I remember when I first saw the Hurricane, by the way, I was just like, this is so effing stupid. Like, I didn't really know much about Shane Helms, but I'm like, what is this? Like, they're burying this dude. And then it became my favorite thing on the damn show within a few weeks. I'm like, this is good. And my favorite part was when he would be the Hurricane, and then he'd switch to like Gregory Helms, Ace Reporter.
Yep.
That was so good. But I said, in my opinion, after an awesome match, Shane Helms wins with a vertebreaker. Uncle Dave gave it an even 3 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. I actually really liked this match. What do you say?
I liked it too. Just the vertebreaker is like one of the coolest moves ever.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I didn't realize, by the way, one of his signature moves back in the day was what ended up becoming Sean Spears' move.
Was it?
Yeah, it's that where he picks him up like fireman's carry and then he spins him around into a facebuster on one knee. Because that was the second version of the tiebreaker after he got called up. And I'm assuming they told him quit doing the tiebreaker he originally did because AJ does that. So you know how much of a mark I am, Shane Helms. So, and Chavo was a good wrestler. He never blew me away with anything he did, but this is a really good match. But we now go into the locker room for the Magnificent Seven, where Ric Flair apparently saw Dusty Rhodes getting his ass all stanky because Flair is pissed, and he said he's not kissing anybody's ass. And he ends the whole promo by saying, Dusty Rhodes, you're going down, and kissing some ass. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But now Booker T cuts a promo in his locker room.
This is a real thing, by the way.
It is. Booker T cuts a promo in his locker room against Rick Steiner, telling him to save the drama for his mama and, quote, don't hate the playa, hate the game.
I thought it was save the drama for Oprah.
What the hell?
I thought that was the saying.
No. But yeah.
Some people said back in the day, save the drama for Oprah.
Nah, this one was save the drama for your mama. And
no, I know what it was. I heard it.
Yeah. I like how he was getting over the whole don't hate the player, hate the game thing at this point. And to your credit, you said he should have brought that back during his WrestleMania, was it 18 build-up? 19, yeah.
Oh, 19 was about the hair, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right. Not about the drama or hating players. But all right. Before the next match, Totally Buffed, which is Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger.
Real name.
They cut a promo where they talk about all the titles they've held and about ending the career of Bill Goldberg. Spoiler, this promo lasted longer than the match itself.
Yeah.
It is Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo defending the WCW tag titles against Totally Buffed. It went a total of 54 seconds. You heard me right.
Total buff of 54 seconds.
Totally Buffed.
Too much time for Totally Buffed.
Good grief. Totally Buffed gets no offense. Palumbo hits 2 jungle kicks. O'Haire hits 2 Shanton bombs. And Totally Buffed gets squashed. Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger apparently complained bitterly about putting over Palumbo and O'Haire. Finally, they agreed to do the match, scheduled for 8 minutes originally, but then they decided to go into business for themselves, so they ended up letting O'Haire and Palumbo squash them in under a minute, and they oversold the finish to to a ridiculous degree for several minutes after. Apparently, a lot of agents and even the wrestlers backstage were said to be furious at this. Which, you know what? I totally buy that story. I don't know about you.
I just don't understand what's wrong with Palumbo and O'Hare.
Well, they're rookies, Greg, and they were the great Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. By God, look at them.
Shut up.
What? I guarantee that's what they were thinking. Disco Inferno actually talked about Lex Luger. Apparently there was supposed to be like an angle that they were throwing around where Miss Elizabeth was going to be hot for Billy Kidman and do like a MILF angle or whatever. And Lex Luger had it axed because he said it makes Elizabeth look old. And they were like, everybody can do the math. They know how old she is.
Yeah, right?
So it's not like they were hiding it. But Uncle Dave gave this -1 star. I just gave it a dud. What say you?
1 star. I don't even know why it was a star. It wasn't even really a match.
No, it was.
Honestly, like when I watch these sometimes, I'm like doing other stuff, and I look up, like, wait, I didn't even take a note. I had to rewind it. I'm like, wait, was that quick?
Yep. Scott Steiner is seen doing chin-ups in the shower before shouting at the camera.
Oh, yeah, because we needed to see that.
Yeah. Well, and then he had to ask Medeja how many he did because, it's all about the numbers.
Yep.
But he starts shouting at the camera about how he's going to beat up Diamond Dallas White Trash.
There it is. I knew it, man. People kept saying he never said that. I guess he did. I remember him saying that.
Yep. It was Diamond Dallas White Trash. Like, what the hell, man? We now get video footage of Kanyon being a psychopath and beating up Ernest Miller and M.I. Smooth, and that led to this match.
Just call him Smooth.
M.I. Smooth, by the way, was apparently Ernest Miller's limo driver. I don't watch a lot during this time, like I said.
Ice Train, by the way.
Yeah, because, we needed to repackage Ice Train. Got to keep him on the payroll.
And they freaking did.
I mean, it makes sense for Ernest Miller to have a crew. I will say this. I dug the pairing of him and Miss Jones. I thought they were pretty good together.
Yeah, because she actually did stuff.
Yeah, she was talented, and she was, because most of them, like the young people in WCW at this point, it's like, man, they have no acting chops whatsoever, and Russo made them act a lot. Well, Miss Jones could actually act. She wasn't, when they did have her do something physical, she wasn't horrible at it. She could dance, so I don't know. But anyway, back to the ring now. Lex Luger is...
Yeah, because, we're getting off course. Let's get back to this.
Lex Luger is just now rolling out of the ring, and Buff Bagwell isn't moving at all. After a good minute of him just laying there like he's dead, Buff finally gets up, and Luger helps him to the back. And Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson are going on about, there's a really scary scene right now. Yeah, you remember when he messed up his neck a couple years ago? This is really bad.
Yeah, they bastardized 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I know. So this was so effing stupid. Apparently they just went to the back, got their things, and left. Well, I guess not yet, because we'll get to it. But Ernest Miller comes out cutting a promo on Kanyon, and Kanyon tries to attack Miss Jones for whatever frickin' reason, but Miller cuts him off. I like how he just pushes right past Ernest Miller to go after Miss Jones, like he's not going to do something about it.
Maybe you only want to fight with a woman. I don't know.
Yeah, right. But this is Kanyon versus Ernest the Cat Miller with Miss Jones. It went 10.5 minutes. Hey, by the way, do you remember when the cat told Miss Jones, "You need to stay in the back. I'm going to handle this on my own."
I'm sure she will.
Forget about that. That's not important. The referee gets knocked out from behind. Kanyon and Miss Jones get into it, and some shenanigans happen. She finally kicks Kanyon, setting him up for the feliner as the referee wakes up to count the pin. Uncle Dave gave this 1 3/4 stars. I gave it even 2 stars. What say you?
I gave it 1.
I thought it was interesting, and I like what Miller and Kanyon can do in the ring together, but yeah, this is weird. Well, in a few weeks, Kanyon would become the MVP of the Alliance. So there's that. What? Who better than Kanyon?
Everybody. Nobody except for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
After the match,
I'm better than Canyon. Yeah, that's why I'm changing it to nobody's better than Canyon except for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Good grief. After the match, Canyon jumps Ernest Miller before dropping him with a flatliner, excuse me. And then he's about to do something to Miss Jones when M.I. Smooth runs down with a chair to chase Canyon off. My God, it's the return of M.I. Smooth. Yes, he's here.
Ice freaking train.
Yeah. Whatever. I guess this was a moment, sorta.
A moment we'll never forget.
I don't know.
A moment in time.
The greatest moment in the history of our great sport. But now Buff
I still maintain it's okay for him to use that as long as it makes sense.
Yeah. Buff Bagwell argues with Lex Luger backstage about whether or not Luger threw the match. Yeah, he threw this.
Oh, something was thrown apparently.
Yeah. They then agree to get their stuff and leave, which I'm sure they did. We now see the Rhodes.
I don't think anybody was crying.
No. We now see the Rhodes in their locker room again, where Dusty apparently ate the entire tray of burritos, and he says that he's got it all worked down into his saddlebags. Okay. Which I'm gonna leave that alone. But up next, we get Rick Steiner defending the United States title against Booker T. This goes for 7.5 minutes. Booker is beating on Steiner. Steiner ducks a kick. The ref gets bumped, sort of. Like Booker kind of like taps him with a boot, and he has to sell it like he's dead. Steiner then gets in control until Shane Douglas hops the guardrail. Rick gets on the second rope. Douglas blasts him in the head with his hand cast, knocking him down, and then Booker hits the bookend for the win. Uncle Dave gave this a 1/4 of a star. I gave it 1.5 stars. What say you?
I gave it 1. Remember, we were starting off so hot this event too.
I know. This one was I thought it was okay, like 1.5 stars worthy, but it was so sloppy. That ending, like I said, he like love taps the referee, and then he sells it like he just got shot in the cheek. And then when Shane hits Rick Rick acted like he forgot what the finish was, because Shane hits him in the back, and he just kind of like falls off the rope and turns around like, what the hell? Like he didn't just get hit with a cast. I don't know. But backstage, Animal finds Buff Bagwell laid out on his face. Luger accuses Animal of attacking Buff. I don't know if we ever find out what the hell happened here either.
No, I think after this, the Magnificent Seven is just gone.
Ah, lovely.
Real name, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm maintaining that Turner owns the rights to that movie. He has to. But we now see...
Quit trying to make sense of it, please.
Yeah. We now see play-up video for the next match where Ric Flair tried to sign Dustin Rhodes to his team, and Dustin said to shove it. He literally said shove it. So Jeff Jarrett dresses up in a fat suit and impersonates Dusty Rhodes on Nitro. I will say I laughed a little bit.
Of course you did.
It was kind of funny. But he then has Ric Flair dress up as Dusty Rhodes, and Jarrett beats him up until Dusty himself and Dustin run in and beat them both up. I'm sorry. It was stupid, but a little funny. But now Ric Flair comes out with Road Warrior.
Sorry.
It was. Ric Flair comes to the ring with Road Warrior Animal, but Animal gets sent to the back by referee Charles Robinson. Flair, by the way, is wearing a floral print Hawaiian shirt, slacks, and loafers. That's what he's wearing for this match. But he grabs a mic and he says he's not dressed to...
He's going on vacation right after this. He's want to change.
Yeah. It's like when I wear sweatpants to the gym. It's like I can just slip these back on after I'm done. It's fine. I can wear them wherever. I don't want to have to change. But Flair grabs a mic and he says he's not dressed to wrestle and he won't wrestle, saying Chosen One will take them both on by himself. I didn't notice this until years down the line. He always calls people by their nickname. Like Jesse Ventura was just Body.
Oh yeah, he called him Body.
Yeah. And Jeff Jarrett was Chosen One. He never called him Jeff or Jarrett. He just called him Chosen One. And there was other ones too. he would just use their nickname. And I'm like, why is that a thing with you?
Did he call Arn Enforcer?
He called him Double A a lot. But Jeff Jarrett and Ric Flair, this is up next. They take on the team of Dusty and Dustin Rhodes, where the losers kiss the winners' asses. That is a real stipulation. An ass kisser
Belly
match.
burrito eating ass.
Hell yeah. Meanwhile, if this was in the WWF and Dustin was Goldust, he would have been all over the stipulation. This went about 10 minutes. Here's the thing that got me. After everything we've seen, and this is the year 2001, Dusty was obviously more out of shape than ever because he's not a wrestler at this point. Flair wasn't in the greatest of shape at this point, dressed like how I described him. When they go face to face in the ring, that's the pop of the entire night. Like, the crowd blows the roof off, and all these guys did was look at each other and tie up.
Every old person and their mother is there.
Right. In the end, Jarrett and Flair attempt doing double figure fours in the middle of the ring on the Rhodeses, but Dusty and Dustin both kick them off at the same time. They collide. Jarrett flops out of the ring, and then Dustin rolls Flair up for the pin. Uncle Dave gave this 2 and a 4 star. I gave it 2 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2 only because I had a lot of fun laughing.
Yeah, it was fun. Flair played the part of, he really was serious when he's like, I'm not ready to wrestle. Clearly.
Yeah. Well, at least he admitted it.
Yeah, you got your ass kicked throughout the whole show, dude, or throughout the whole match. But yeah, so that's the match itself. And then Dusty tells Flair to put on the chapstick and kiss his big white ass. This is literally what he said. Jarrett
but there's a swerve.
Swerve, bro. He's not kissing anybody's ass. Jarrett tries jumping Dustin, but Dustin beats him up and holds him in the corner, while Dusty drops Trow and gives Jeff a stink face. And then we get the heartwarming moment where Dustin crouches in the corner while his dad stands in the middle of the ring, pants around his ankles, shaking his ass, doing a dance. Yeah, that's some great father-son bonding there.
You really paint a picture.
He does, man. This all happened.
I believe Flair would eventually get his face jammed up the horse's ass.
Go figure.
Tabs on Nitro.
Good grief. And then this... Oh, man. It just like Dustin has a look on his face like, why am I here right now? Like, what?
Because that check cleared.
Yeah, he's like, I'm questioning every decision I've ever made in my life that led me to this moment. Just, man. But all right. Anyway, we're going to take our second to last break. When we come back, it's main event time. Lots to get into with this one. We'll be right back.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. It's the very best of professional wrestling's past every Monday on
Retro Wrestling Review.
I'm your host, Troy, and together we'll hop on my time-traveling wrestling ring and watch along to the greatest matches from yesteryear in the sport of kings.
As complex, as controversial, and as brilliant, really, as he is.
On Triple R, we'll cover matches from across the world, including American territories, Canada, Mexico, and Japan.
Fast action, lots more than that.
You'll learn some things, find out about wrestlers and matches you never even knew about, and we'll have some laughs. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Retro Wrestling Pod. Retro Wrestling Review is available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube, served up fresh every Monday morning.
Unbelievable! The crowd absolutely stunned!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back. It is main event time. It is Scott Steiner with Madeja defending the WCW World Heavyweight title against Diamond Dallas Page.
Diamond Dallas White Trash.
Yeah, that's it. It is Falls Counts Anywhere. It goes for 14 minutes, 14 seconds, bell to bell. I got a comment on, I always forget, because like I said, I didn't keep up with WCW during this time. I really liked DDP's theme during this era. How did you feel about it?
I hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I thought it had like great energy to it, and it was just like, I was like, damn, that's a pretty damn cool theme. Obviously, I like his other one better, but this one just, I don't know. He did say when he was doing an interview, he said the surviving members of Nirvana actually tried to sue WCW over his theme, but they made sure, I guess Jimmy Hart knew exactly how to change the notes just enough so that it would hold up in court. So, hey, Jimmy Hart's good for something, man.
Sounds like the old Vanilla Ice thing where he changed one beat.
Yeah, apparently that wasn't good enough because he did have to pay up. So, but anyway, I said it blows my mind that they were still able to spring for Michael Buffer at this point. The only thing I can think of is they paid him up front for X amount of dates.
Or like he just had a contract that they had to honor.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. It's like man, guess we have to. It's like, you think I'm gonna say that Buffer had, wasn't paying attention. He was like, as long as I'm getting paid, I'll say Ready to Rumble for anything. And that became apparent after a while. Scott Steiner takes something from a fan and smashes it over DDP's head, and then he pie faces that fan. That fan was Paul London. Did you notice that?
He did. Well, I mean, I didn't notice it then, but I know now. But yeah.
Well, yeah. At that time, I think Paul London was like probably training in Texas to be a wrestler.
Texas.
But both men get busted open. DDP finally hits the Diamond Cutter, but Rick Steiner pulls the ref out of the ring. Scott blasts DDP with a world title, and
right in the
but
face
that's
with a
not.
belt.
But that's not enough. DDP is pouring blood. Scott can't put DDP away, so he beats him up with a lead pipe, a gigantic effing lead pipe that I have no idea where he got it.
But then, yeah, I guess that lead pipes are us, dude.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. He goes in the extra large section, because everything's got to be extra beefy for Big Papa Pump.
Oh, good Lord.
But he beats him up with a lead pipe, and he locks in the Steiner recliner. DDP passes out. Steiner wins it. I will say it was extremely overbooked, and all of Steiner's title matches had a crap ton of shenanigans, but I liked it. Uncle Dave gave it 3.5 stars. I gave it an even 3 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2. It was fine.
You didn't like it?
I've seen way better between these two.
Oh, well, yeah, but I don't know. Like I said, tons of shenanigans. Had to do that, but it was fine. Brawling throughout the arena they tried to give the fans their money's worth. I'll say that.
Give the people what they want.
But after the match, Scott and Rick Steiner drape a University of Michigan flag over DDP's body.
Yes.
Yay.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I'm not going to make the joke I want to make. I'm trying to keep it clean. But anyway, and then Scott beats DDP up some more with his lead pipe. He's got to make sure he's good and dead. That is the end of Greed. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to go into the final ratings and what is to come in the following weeks here on the podcast.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. It's the very best of professional wrestling's past every Monday on
Retro Wrestling Review.
I'm your host, Troy, and together we'll hop on my time-traveling wrestling ring and watch along to the greatest matches from yesteryear in the sport of kings.
As complex, as controversial, and as brilliant, really, as he is.
On Triple R, we'll cover matches from across the world, including American territories, Canada, Mexico, and Japan.
Fast action, lots more than that.
You'll learn some things, find out about wrestlers and matches you never even knew about, and we'll have some laughs. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Retro Wrestling Pod. Retro Wrestling Review is available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube, served up fresh every Monday morning.
Unbelievable! The crowd absolutely stunned!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, final break is over, and now final ratings time. Internet Movie Database gives this 6.2 out of 10. CageMatch.net gives it 6.75 out of 10. I actually gave it a 7 out of 10. What say you?
I think I'm right there with you. I said C-.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was a really good show, I thought. It had some high points to it. It was enough to keep me intrigued. There was some stuff I feel like should have just been on a Nitro, and they shouldn't have hoisted this onto people for money. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's not going to be perfect.
They got 50,000 suckers.
Right. Not you. I mean, you watch it, but you didn't have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But anyway, that does it for that, man. That is Greed 2001, WCW's final pay-per-view ever, and we are 20 years removed. Nuts, man. Just absolutely nuts. But next week, we're also going 20 years in the past for this one. We are building up to WrestleMania next month in April. So building up, we always cover WrestleMania. We're going to always cover WrestleManias in March. And this one is possibly the best WrestleMania ever. I know you don't necessarily agree, but we're covering WrestleMania 17 or X7, whatever the hell you want to call it. This was from April of 2001. This was post-WCW shutdown. Lots and lots to talk about on this show. I've already put together the show notes. It's going to be a big one. That's all I got to say.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just all the shows we have going on for the rest of the month. Very excited about it. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, by the way, obviously Greg is not Jacob Grandi, and this is not ECW. So scheduling conflicts or whatnot, we're going to try to get Jacob on the show. We have we switched around Greed and Living Dangerously. So in 2 weeks, we're hoping
watching to get that Jacob. Crap is living dangerously.
Well, in 2 weeks, I'm hoping to get Jacob here on the podcast so we can cover Living Dangerously 2000. But man, I'll tell you what, for the rest of the month, that's the only show where I'm like, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment. But we've got some TNA from 2007. We've got 2 more WrestleManias coming. I'm excited. This is going to be a great month of content here on the podcast, if I do say so myself.
If you will.
But yeah, so everybody tune in next week for that. One more time, if you're not listening to us on the Unhinged Sports Network, go to unhingedsn.airtime.pro. Play every Wednesday live at 8 o'clock Eastern. And if you miss us, the replay tomorrow, Thursday, is at 6 p.m. Eastern. And subscribe to Fubo TV and Fanatics. The links are in the podcast description here, so click on them. And I will try to start working them into the YouTube videos as well. And please like, subscribe, leave feedback, all that good stuff. And thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you all next week with WrestleMania X7 from the year 2001.